You stay like one single day in their home and you realize they got Satan himself living in there.
A guy got out the car and had a flashlight and started turning it towards my house.
She says in this like almost whisper tone, oh, it freaks me out. I said, don't be rude.
So tell me, how are we supposed to leave when these things are in the kitchen? Must we just be like, sorry, no, sorry, we're just going out?
Was I even dreaming?
Static in the night, screen glow, hold tight. You don't know what you'll see. Welcome to CHELA'S TV. Flip the channel, don't blink twice. Every frame got a different life. Whispers echo, shadows creep. Something's watching while you sleep. Hear that whisper through the sound. Every secret's spinning around. Welcome to CHELA'S TV, where nothing's ever what it seems. Switching up reality bends. Every story never ends. Welcome to CHELA'S TV. Stay a while, don't try to leave. Not the screen, it's all the same. Once you're in, you know the name. Don't change the channel. Don't change the channel.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is CHELA and you are watching CHELA'S TV. Grab you some Twinkies, a bottle of Ting. Yes, a bottle of Ting. It's a Caribbean Ting. If you know, you know. Now listen, sleepovers can be so much fun, or they can just be downright horrifying. Think about it. Like when we were kids growing up, we always want to do something wild and exciting. We want to play hide and seek in the dark, whip out on an Ouija board, or pull pranks on each other. And it's all fun, but then sometimes it gets real bad because from the outside looking in, you just see not a normal house, right? Like normal people. You're like, oh, they seem nice. Then you go inside and you stay like one single day in their home and you realize they got Satan himself living in there. Like you start seeing things out of the corner of your eyes, or it's 3 a.m. and suddenly you're wide awake, staring at the ceiling, fighting for your life against their demons. Meanwhile, your friend is right there next to you, fast asleep, snoring like nothing is happening. To negotiate with whatever demons they got in their house. Like, thanks for the hospitality, but I'm out. And you see, that's just the spooky paranormal side of things. There's also on the other side, some people out there would put on a whole front, right? They act like they're all cool, and then you send your kids for a sleepover, or you go visit and sleep over yourself, and only to find out that the people the people are just psychopaths, like straight up psychopaths. Unfortunately, there's people who have actually lost their lives just because they trusted being at someone's house. I don't even care whether if it's family, whether if it's a friend. Like honestly, nowadays you just can't trust no one. Today we are looking at the people who didn't stay in their home. I put together some scary sleepover stories that you can watch, and make sure your doors are locked, get your snacks ready, and let's dive right into it.
A girl named Jay emailed me and she said, I have a scary story about a time that I slept over at this girl's house when I was in 6th grade. And apparently the girl's grandmother had made a deal with the devil, and the things that happened that night still freak me out to this day. The details are specific enough in this story that I believe her, and she swears this is true. So Jay's like 12 when this happens. She's at the roller rink with a few of her friends where all the kids hung out. They run into this other girl that they go to school with, who she calls Emily for the story. They went to school with Emily, but they never hung out with her up until this night. But they're all having a good time, and Emily invites them over for a sleepover at her house. So they check with their parents. Their parents are like, that's fine. They all go to Emily's house. The girls spend the night doing normal 6th grade girl sleepover things, eating snacks, gossiping about boys, watching movies. Nothing is strange except for the fact that Emily's grandmother also lives in the house, and she's weird. She walks in and out of rooms but doesn't acknowledge them, doesn't even look at them, like doesn't speak the entire time. It's time for bed. All the girls are in the living room, and right before they fall asleep, Emily says, by the way, my house is haunted, so if you see anything tonight, don't freak out. And some of the girls laugh, but this really unsettles Jay, and she's like, what are you talking about? Your house is haunted. She said at that point in her life, she did believe in ghosts. She had played with Ouija boards at other sleepovers and had some strange encounters with that. So she didn't like the fact that Emily just nonchalantly says, oh yeah, by the way, my house is haunted. So she's in her head about this. The other girls fall asleep and she stays up for like another hour watching ridiculousness reruns and then finally turns the TV off and tries to go to bed. She's dozing off when she hears a cabinet creak open in the kitchen. So she flips over, looks in the kitchen and sees a cabinet door opening by itself. And then she says she sees a very prominent apparition of an older woman dressed in a long black tinted blue dress. She says she remembers this woman clear as day. She had her hair pinned back in a black bun on the top of her head, and she was staring out the patio door into the yard. Jay says she was trying to figure out who this woman was, and she's just staring at her when suddenly the woman notices that Jay is staring at her and jerks her head to look at her, and she has no eyes, just empty gray-black sockets. She shakes her friend that's sleeping next to her. Her friend wakes up, sees the apparition, and they both lock eyes and just realize how terrifying this is. The woman is still staring at them. Jay says that even thinking about it now, she wants to throw up. So her and her friend that are awake run upstairs into Emily's bedroom, and Emily's bedroom is so creepy at night because she has porcelain dolls all over her room on shelves covering the entire walls. They're like, we don't like this room, so they go into her little brother's room. Her brother was at her dad's house that night, so he's not there, but it's a very peaceful race car theme, very childish, just calming. We're up there for about 20 minutes, just like freaking out, talking about it when Emily comes upstairs and she asks where Tammy is. Tammy's the other friend that's still sleeping in the living room. Apparently Emily woke up, Tammy's not there, so they all go back downstairs to look for Tammy. They get back downstairs, they notice the basement door is cracked open, so they peek their heads in and they see Tammy at the base of the stairs marching in place and saluting something. They call her name, she's unresponsive, but they're not about to go in the basement alone, so they just go back up to her brother's room and talk about it, and they're like, this is actually really messed up to leave her down there. So they get the courage to go back downstairs and get Tammy, but when they get back in the living room, Tammy is now sitting in a rocking chair facing the fireplace with her hair covering her face, just rocking. Scream her name, she doesn't respond, so the girls freak out again, run back up into the brother's room, and they're up there for a little while talking about what to do when finally Tammy comes upstairs. Tammy's normal. She's like, why are you guys up here? They're like, we literally just saw you saluting nothing in the basement and then rocking in a rocking chair and you wouldn't wake up. And she thought that they were messing with her. So she's like, no, I wasn't. And she's like, I actually just had a really weird dream about a soldier. Tammy's like, I must have been sleepwalking. And the girls are like, no, you were literally possessed. The girls are all huddled up in the brother's room with the door closed. And Emily's telling them that they've had lots of activity in their house over the years, but she's never had a sleepover before. So maybe that's why the activity was more prominent tonight. And they start hearing running up and down in the hallway outside the door. Emily's like, yeah, this is pretty normal for my house. Like I told you, it was haunted. And they decide that they're going to call up some other girls they know, the toughest girls they know, the goth girl. She says, looking back, it was a very 6th grade thing to do, but the goth girls answer the phone. They're like, yeah, we'll come over. They lived up the street and they were excited to go ghost hunting in Emily's house. The goth girls get there, and now Jay says that she has found herself leading the charge of this ghost hunt. So she's like, yeah, I have to show you the basement. Like, that's where we saw Tammy marching. They all go to the top of the basement stairs, and she's explaining what happened when all of a sudden she is pushed down the stairs. She comes to at the bottom of the stairs. She looks up at the top, and she sees all the girls standing there, and their faces are just shocked, pale white. She calls up from the bottom. She's like, what the hell? Did you guys push me? And they're like, no, you literally just flew down the stairs on your own. She says she goes back upstairs, and the energy in the house seemed to change. She said they all started seeing apparitions, like orbs, that woman again. And all of the girls are seeing this activity, like shadows flitting in and out. Suddenly, Emily pipes up, and she's like, I don't think they like you guys. And she closes the basement door, and the activity stops. Jay decides she's had enough. Tammy decides she's had enough. Tammy's like, I'm going to call my mom to pick us up. So Tammy's mom answers. She's like, yeah, I'll come get you guys, but I can't be there for like an hour. Tammy's like, cool. So they're waiting. While they're waiting, they're like, where is your grandmother? And Emily's like,
She disappeared after a sleepover at her sister's house, and police believe that her brother-in-law was the killer. This is a disturbing case of 15-year-old Rebecca Reusch. Rebecca was born on September 21st, 2003 in Berlin, Germany. She grew up with her parents Brigitte and Bernd and with her sisters Vivian and Jessica. Friends and family describe Rebecca as being very goofy and free-spirited. She loved having sleepovers, she loved hanging out with her sisters, with her friends, she loved BTS, and she also loved playing Sims. On Sunday, February 17th, 2019, Rebecca asked her mom if she could have a sleepover at her sister Jessica's house. Jessica's husband Florian was going to be away at a work party, so Rebecca was like, perfect, like this is the ideal night for us to have a sister sleepover. However, it was a school night, it was a Sunday, so Rebecca's mom was like, I don't really know if this is the best idea for you to go have a sleepover when you have school tomorrow. But Rebecca promised her mom that she would wake up early the next morning and that she would make it on time for school. With that, Rebecca was granted permission for the sleepover, and her sister Jessica just had the best sister sleepover. They hung out, they watched movies, and then at around 11 p.m. Rebecca went to
to sleep on the living room couch. The next day at around 5:45 in the morning, Florian returned home and he claims that he went straight to bed. About an hour later, Jessica woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning, she got ready for work, and then she headed out of the house without checking on Rebecca. Later in the morning, Rebecca's mom, Brigitte, called her just to make sure that she was awake and getting ready for school, but Rebecca wasn't answering the phone. Brigitte just assumed that Rebecca had overslept, so she called Florian to ask him to wake her up, but Florian hung up the phone. She thought this was weird, but she was like, listen, I'm just gonna get in the car myself and I'm just gonna drive to Florian's house and wake up my daughter. However, before she got there, Florian called her back and was like, hey, don't even bother coming, Rebecca's not on the couch anymore. So with that, they just assumed that she had gotten up and left for school. Everyone just kind of went about their day, and Brigitte tried contacting Rebecca throughout the day just to check in on her, but she wasn't answering the phone. She honestly just assumed that she was busy with school and that she couldn't take her phone out. Later that evening, however, Jessica calls Brigitte and is like, hey mom, when is Rebecca gonna come by to pick up her stuff? This is when Brigitte knew that something was wrong, because why would Rebecca go to school without her school books, without her backpack, without anything? She called the school and they confirmed that Rebecca never made it to class that day. And with that, they called the police and they reported Rebecca as missing. They gave police all these different photos to choose from, but they decided to just use a specific photo that did not really look like Rebecca. It was heavily filtered. So the family, of course, was upset because they're like, that doesn't look like our daughter, and if people see her on the street, they're not going to recognize her. The family was just a little bit frustrated with the police because of that, but they were also frustrated at the fact that police were looking at Florian as their suspect. Police were just very suspicious of Florian because he kept making some conflicting statements, and they also saw that he made some suspicious car trips the day Rebecca disappeared. So with that, Florian was detained. Police searched his car and they found some hair that they believed belonged to Rebecca, as well as some fibers from a blanket that Rebecca used the night before. When asked about these strange car trips that he took the day Rebecca disappeared, he says that he was going to cross illegal substances, but that it had nothing to do with Rebecca's disappearance. Despite these accusations, Rebecca's family stood by Florian's side. They're like, there's no way that he did this to his sister-in-law. Like, he's not that type of person. However, in the eyes of police, they truly believed that Rebecca did not leave the home alive and that Florian did this. Okay, go to part 2. This is part 2 on the disappearance of 15-year-old Rebecca Roish. So police detained Florian, but they knew that they needed hard evidence against him or else they would have to release him. They continued looking for clues, and the whole time, Rebecca's family continued to remain by his side. They believed that Florian could never do this to Rebecca, and they honestly thought that one of Rebecca's online friends could have done this, and police did look into this online friend, but it led to nothing. They continued searching for any clues connecting Florian to Rebecca's disappearance, but they didn't find anything, so they had to release Florian. Despite him being released, he was still the #1 suspect in the police's eyes. Now, they still had the hair that was found in the back of Florian's car, so they tested it to see if it would match Rebecca's, but it didn't. However, it did match one of Rebecca's relatives, but that kind of makes sense because this was like the family car, so it would make sense if Jessica's hair was there or like her mom's hair, because like everyone used that car. After this, investigators decided to move on to Rebecca's cell phone. Now, her physical phone was still missing, but they decided to try to locate it. They weren't able to track the phone down, but they were able to restore a backup of her phone, and they saw that she took some photos and filmed some TikToks just 2 days before she disappeared. Besides those photos and videos, there really wasn't any other helpful information on her cell phone, and to this day, police have still not been able to find it. Police were back to focusing their attention on Florian, and they searched Florian and Jessica's home once again, and they even conducted acoustic measurements in the home to see if Rebecca's screams could be heard from the outside, because again, they truly believed that Rebecca was killed in the home. Along with that, they also looked into Florian's search history, and what he was looking at the night Rebecca disappeared was horrifying. He claims that he fell asleep as soon as he got home, but his phone records show that he was actually active and that he was on adult websites looking at content related to strangulation. Along with that, police also found a bathrobe that had a missing belt, which could be used for strangulation. Now, unfortunately, to this day, Rebecca is still missing, and police have not arrested Florian, but they still believe that he did this. There are a lot of theories about what could have happened to Rebecca that night, but the main theory that everyone has is that Florian returned home from the work party. He logged onto his phone, looked at those adult videos about strangulation, and saw that Rebecca was laying alone on the couch, and decided to act on his urges. Again, this is just a theory people have. This has not been confirmed. To this day, the family continues to remain by Florian's side, and they truly believe that he didn't do this. Overall, it's just a really heartbreaking case. Rebecca was only 15 years old, and her family deserves answers, and she also deserves justice, and they all deserve closure. If you know anything about what happened to Rebecca, please contact the number down below.
Hey family, I know we haven't done story times in a minute, but my ring light is broken and I just haven't had the time to go buy it. So today I decided, you know what? screw that, we are getting into a story time. You know, like when I was younger, my mom would she really didn't have a problem with me going to visit friends, but I always had to sleep home. So she didn't want me to sleep over, and I was always like, why? Like, I didn't understand. After this sleepover, best believe I'm never gonna judge girl ever again. I don't even like sleepovers. I just like sleeping at my house. So I had this friend, and we went to school together. Everything was, you know, cool. And she invited us to sleep over at her house. And we were like, okay, no, it's okay. I'll ask my mom. My mom said yes because I was older. So it was 3 friends plus this friend. So we went over, like, they had a nice house. They had a nice house and, like, nice cars. So, like, her mom ran, like, let me say, like, a bakery, sort of, in the, like, garage. And, like, everybody knew, like, they had the best fat cooks, like, ever. Like, amaguinya, they had the best maguinyas ever. And, like, that's exactly how, like, their business started, and, like, it boomed. Like, there are different corners in the mornings where they sell fat cooks every morning, and they always get sold out sharp. So as soon as we got there, everything was fine. We were assigned a room, 2 rooms, yeah, all of that. You know how sleepovers work, miss. So her mom was there, and then she asked us, so, like, what, girl was like, what are you guys doing tonight? We're like, oh, nothing, like, we're just gonna watch movies and then we're gonna sleep. But we knew that is not what we gonna do. Who? Me? What? Never. Never. Away from home? Sleep? What? So she was like, oh no, it's fine. I'll watch movies with you guys, and then, like, later we'll go sleep. Hi. Oh, girl is ruining our plans, man. So we watched movies with her. Everything was cool. So she went to sleep. It was around, like, 10. So my friend was like, no, guys, let's wait for her to drift into sleep. So around past 12, we decided to go out. Friends mans was like, you know what, I will fetch you guys. So our girl, like, we did our makeup. We were looking okay. Like, we were looking fine. Understand? So it's time to sneak out, and yeah, we were using our phone torches because we didn't want to wake her mom up. So we get to the kitchen. Guys. There are 4 little things in the kitchen, and they're busy, like, stepping, like, on door. Like, they're busy stepping on door. Little things stepping on the door. And, like, we all look at each other, and we're like, friend, what is, like, going on? She's like, oh, no, don't mind them. And I'm like, what are you saying to me? Those things are literally stepping on the door. So you telling me that those are the things that, like, make the door? And she's like, no, don't be loud. Like, my mom can't hear you guys. Let's just go out, you know? Oh, part 2 coming right now. Okay, so this is part 2 of why I don't sleep over at people's houses anymore. So remember on part 1, at the end, she's just like, no, guys, let's just leave. So tell me, how are we supposed to leave when these things are in the kitchen? Must we just be like, sorry, no, sorry, we're just going out? We went back to our bedroom, and then we used the windows. Luckily, there were no security gates, like, by the windows. What are they called? Tonate. So yeah, after we used that, yeah, we got out, and honestly, I just felt like the whole thing was a movie. Kamo, the people that we were with, the night was fun, but, like, things were, like, a bit awkward because she would literally never leave, like, our side, and, like, I feel like she was trying to make sure that, like, we don't tell anyone. When it's time to go home, and then she's like, no, let me go to the bathroom. And we're like, so, like, guys, what are we gonna do from here on? I really don't want to sleep over there. And then the girls are like, no, like, because we snuck out. Her mom doesn't know that we out. And then if we don't come back, she's gonna be like, where did you girls go? And then, like, why didn't you sleep at the house? I'm like, you know what? I don't care a damn. What am I doing? I told them to drop them at my house. There was an emergency and my mom needed me. And I knocked. As soon as I got home, like, I knocked. And my mom was like, how aren't you sleeping over, like, at your friend's house? And I'm like, you know what? I don't even want to talk about it. At this point, I don't want to talk about it. In the morning, I woke up, and then I told my mom, like, can you please go fetch my things, like, at the girl's house? Because I'm feeling sick. I was hungover. I'm feeling sick, and, like, yeah, I don't want to go. So she did. Girl did, you know. She fetched my things. She came home, and I'm like, when you got there, who was there? She's like, no, like, the girls were together, having breakfast. And I'm like, okay, no, cool, sure. Monday morning, Monday morning we were with like now the whole group like of our friends, and then they wanna buy amakuinya, and then they're like, "Buntle, like from girl's house," and then they're like, "Buntle, like onya kamakai, like how many do you want?" I'm like, "No, I'm cool. Like I'm not hungry." They're like, "What do you mean? You know, we always eat this in the morning." So us four look at each other, and like everyone, like the person that was standing next to, she's like, "Nah, but like what jumpy?" So like just, I'm like, "Nah, I don't want them. Like you don't understand." After I saw those things literally mixing the dough, and like they were singing in the kitchen, I ain't never gonna eat fat cakes again. Sorry, it's trauma. So like yeah, we decided to let it go, but like I don't know, I never like viewed her the same because at her house they practice engineering. But until the next story time, bye.
We are fearing for our life right now. Right. We are at a sleepover with 4 people. Me, Sadie, Lucy and Rose, okay?
Yeah.
Now, basically, my mum said, I live in a small town, okay? No one really here, no gangs, no creeps. We're allowed to go out anytime we want, like 1 a.m, because it's a safe area, okay? Yeah. So we went out at 10. You know, not late, you know, like not that late. So we went out, and as we were walking, we saw the same car circle twice round this area.
And each time we like were visible.
Each time we were visible, and he like turned. You know when you can like turn the lights on more. He did that when we were passing. So as we were walking like down the road, we got really scared because we saw this car pass twice, as I just said. So we went back to my house and we stayed there. Sprinting. We sprinted there for like we stayed there for like a minute.
So basically, we were hiding behind the bins. We saw the whole road. We saw headlights. So we saw headlights. We heard the noises, and then it just turned off.
So, meaning a car was parked not directly outside our house, but to the side. Meaning someone was definitely waiting for us there. Now this is where it gets creepy.
And basically, there we saw 5 cars. 3 were black, 2 were white.
Meaning they were circling around
They were
my
the same
house.
car, same car.
Then this is the part where it gets really creepy. So basically, we were still outside the bins by this point. We were about to run inside, but we didn't want the cars to see us. As the car was parked outside, a guy got out of the car and had a flashlight and started turning it towards my house. So at this point, we run back inside my house and we go to my room. We told my mum by this point, she doesn't really care. So we open the window.
She thinks we're overreacting.
Yeah, which is fair enough because we are younger. So, and we're over 18 though. We're like 18.
Yeah.
TikTok. So we look out the window and there are constant cars passing by. But the thing is, I feel like we were being watched.
I've never, I'm being serious, sounds ridiculous, but
I'm sorry, I look so bad
that
right
fear
now.
before.
I have not felt this kind of fear. I was genuinely, he was waiting outside our house for us to go out again.
And basically the torch is off now, but there was a flashlight. And then when we were up here, there was a flashlight.
We said this, Sadie.
No, we didn't. We saw it waving, and then it was a handheld flashlight. We saw it waving, then it turned off.
So yeah, that's our story, guys. Pray for us.
As guys, I haven't done a story time in a long time. Like I said, I was off social media. But let me tell you a story time that happened to me early this year. And this story time is just motivating the fact that we're in an age or in a time frame in our lives where we are starting to realize that life and people are far deeper than what we thought they were. And I went to sleep over at somebody's house and they are extremely wealthy. This is somebody that is a friend, but somebody that I also want to get into business with. So I had this idea that we needed to put together some work and we were going to do this thing together, like this business. And they suggested, okay, cool, why don't you come and sleep over and then we'll start working on the whole thing and put it together. And then in the morning we'll be able to submit it. And I'm like, great. And I value their opinion because of how I view them as having made it. And they have, because they have all the money, all the flashy cars, all of that. So anyway, fast forward to the day that I have to sleep over. I get to their place, we chill, laugh, drink a bit of wine. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to bed. This is around 8 o'clock. Let me just do another part. Okay, so I'm like, okay, cool. I'm tired. tired. Let me go rest a bit, and then I'll probably wake up in the morning and finish off any last things that need to be done, and then we'll be able to submit. Great. I proceed and I go to bed. When I get into my bed, I can feel I'm tired, and I only had about 2 glasses of wine. And I'm tired. I'm like, anyway, pass out. While I'm asleep, it's like I wake up and I'm taking a walk to the house. It's almost like I had the intention to go to the bathroom. But on my way to the bathroom, I walk into this other door in the house, and the things that were in there, I'm not going to even mention it because I don't think that I need that energy to even sort of. And I quickly jump out through the door, walk through it like a ghost, and I run back into my room and I start writing down some stuff in my journal. And then I wake up, and then I look at the time, and based on when I fell asleep, I was only asleep for like 15-30 minutes, and all of that happened. I couldn't have been only sleeping for like 15 minutes and all of that happened. Have you ever sat in your room and looked at nothing and you were like, what just happened? Was I even dreaming? At that point, I just sat there and I was like, no, I was dreaming. I was? No, I was dreaming. I then decide I'm not going to go back to sleep. I pull my laptop and I sit on the desk in my room. It's people's houses. You don't want to be walking around at odd times. And I'm like, let me work because I can't sleep. As I'm working, I can sense, like, you know when you can feel that somebody's watching you, but you think you're imagining stuff. Now I'm spooked off because I just had that weird dream and I feel like somebody's watching me, to the point that I keep turning around and looking at a specific direction in the room, and I'm like, no. Guys, that was the most uncomfortable sleepover I've ever done. Anyway, in the morning, there was a bit of awkwardness between the both of us as she's leaving and I'm leaving to go back home. And I'm like, why would things be awkward if I was just dreaming, right?
The story I'm about to tell you is about this guy and his best friend named Chewy when they were 8 years old. This guy was gonna spend the night at Chewy's house because he lived pretty far away from his home. He mentions that Chewy is an only child, and so is his mom, and so is his grandma, and so is a great-grandmother. They all lived in the same house. He mentions that Chewy's mom would work days at a time, so sometimes they would have to stay with Chewy's grandmother. That day they decided to play video games and then put a scary movie on, even though they knew they could get in trouble. Of course they got in trouble because their grandmother came in, saw what they were watching, and sent their ass to bed. He mentions that Chewy's grandmother slept in the primary bedroom and that the grandmother would sleep in the living room that they converted into like a bedroom. And the reason they did that was because she had to be close to the restroom since she got up a lot at night, but where she slept was right across from Chewy's room. Before they went to bed, the grandmother had asked them to leave the bedroom door a little open just in case their great-grandmother needed anything so that they could hear her in the middle of the night. So they listened, left the door a little open, and then they went to bed. So they go to sleep, and then he gets woken up by the sound of the door being pushed open. He said that he was pretending to be asleep and kind of opened his eyes a little bit and noticed that it was the great-grandmother, but he thought it was weird because she looked very tall. He said that he even thought to himself, like, I wonder if she just pretends to walk like slouched over when people are looking at her, and maybe she can actually walk when no one's looking. But then he sees her face. He says that her mouth was wide open because he can see her teeth and her eyes, and it was almost like they were glowing, like they were bright. He says that he sees her sit down next to his friend Chewy, and she takes the blanket off of Chewy. And then he notices that she's about to turn and look at him, so he closes his eyes. He said he was scared because every time he was around her, she was a little scary to him as a kid. And at that time, with the lights off, seeing that she was walking straight, he was terrified. He said that he can hear her walk towards his side now, and he was terrified that she was also gonna sit next to him and remove the blanket off of him too. But luckily, she didn't do that. He said that he still never opened his eyes, but he can hear how she started walking back towards the door and left the room. So a few minutes pass after the great grandmother had left the room, and Chewy wakes up and asks him if he's okay. And he's like, why are you asking me this? And he was like, are you scared or something? Because you just took the blanket off of me. So he tells Chewy, I never took the blanket off of you. And honestly, they were too young to even continue on that conversation of what had just happened, and they started talking about something else. But he said that when they were right about to fall asleep again, they heard the grandmother in the main bedroom make some noise. Like she woke up, the lights were on, and they noticed like something was wrong. So both of the boys get up, run to the grandmother's room, and ask her if she's okay. The grandmother's like, yeah, I'm okay. I thought someone was in here. Like I was laying down and then the blanket came off of me. I'd be so scared at that point because honestly, like the friend, I could just lie to myself and be like, I saw something, but the grandmother saying something came in here and took the blanket off of me is like confirmation that I wasn't fucking crazy. When the grandmother told them what she thought or felt that somebody had taken the blanket off of her, the kid who's telling the story said that he decided to tell her what happened. He was like, yeah, it was the lady, the great grandmother. She had came into our room and took the blanket off of Chewy also. He says that when he said that, the grandma's face was like, what the fuck? So, after he told her that, she took him and Chewy back to Chewy's bedroom, told them to close the door. He said that they accidentally ended up falling asleep, and when they woke up, he woke up to his dad in Chewy's bedroom. He says that his mom was there too and took Chewy by the hand, and his dad picked him up and carried them to the car. I guess eventually they fell asleep and they woke up at his house now. And all morning he was just like, what happened? Why are we at my house? What is going on? So it wasn't until that day in the afternoon where his parents told Chewy that the great grandmother had passed away. After hearing that, he was just thinking that maybe she mustered up all the energy she had to go and tell Chewy goodbye. But later on he found out that that was not true. He heard when they said that she actually passed away minutes after going to bed. The great grandmother had passed away while they were still watching that scary movie. She had already gone to bed at that point. He said that he tried to lie to himself and just think maybe it was a dream, but no, because who took the blankets off of Chewy? Who took the blankets off of the grandma? And what did he see in that room? Who knows? But that shit is scary. Again, this is a story that I have translated from Spanish to English from Relatos de la Noche. So please, if you know Spanish, go listen to that story. It's 1,000 times scarier in Spanish.
Stop letting your kids spend the night at their friend's house, because y'all don't know what be going on in other people's houses. And I was just telling this creepy story about this one boy who found out the hard way. And if you need to catch up, then you might want to watch the last 2 parts. But this is part 3 and the final part. Now, last time I left y'all, Gabriel just gave Terrell the backstory on this clown thing. And when he went to go look back out the window to see if it was still there, it was gone. So once Gabriel told Terrell it was gone, Terrell was like, well, where did it go? And Gabriel like, I don't know. I never know where it goes. I just know that once you see it, if you look away, it disappears. Sometimes it's there for a long time. Sometimes it's gone in an instant. As Gabriel was saying this, Terrell slowly started getting upset. And he told Gabriel, listen, I feel like you did this on purpose. Like, why wouldn't you tell me about this before coming over here? And before Gabriel could even answer, he interrupted him like, I know why. Because you knew I wouldn't bring my ass over here if you told me about this clown thing. I'm going home. And that's when Gabriel started freaking out like, no, bro, please, please, please. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. You right. I didn't think you want to come. Also, I thought you wouldn't believe me. Either way, I need you. But Terrell wasn't going. First of all, listen to what you just told me. You said that nobody else could see it. When you told your dad, when you told your auntie that they couldn't see it. And then when you told them about it, weird stuff started happening. Why is it that I could see it? And of course, Gabriel was like, I don't know. I'm sorry, but I have no idea. I didn't expect you to see it because, like you just said, no one ever sees it. All I know is the last time I saw it, which was a couple of nights ago, when it was standing outside of my house, I was asleep. He didn't have a bad dream. He didn't have to use the bathroom. He just woke up. And when he woke up, something said, look out the window. And he saw this thing just staring into his window, watching him sleep. So, of course, Gabriel said ever since then, like, he already told his aunt he didn't want to tell his aunt again because he was afraid, like, she'd start acting even more strange than what she already was. And he didn't think he'd be able to handle that. So he figured if he just had a really good friend over, that it'd just make him feel better. It'd just make him feel safer. That Terrell didn't necessarily have to know. And he felt like if he didn't tell Terrell, that Terrell would be safe because he didn't want nothing to start happening to him as well. Like, then he ain't got nobody. All he really got is Terrell. Of course, again, his aunt is nice to him, but she's been acting weird. So Terrell, he sat there and he listened to all this and he sat in silence for a second so he could think about it. And again, as he's processing this information, he comes to the conclusion that, yeah, no, I'm still about to go home. So he tells him this and he like, I'm sorry. And Gabriel like, I thought you were my friend. And Terrell is like, I am, but I don't understand what's going on. What does that mean for me that I can see it? And Gabriel's like, I don't know. So, of course, Terrell like, then I'm going home. You don't got to answer for me. Then I got to answer. I'm going home. And he gets ready to call his dad, but then he pauses and he thinks about it. And he's like, what am I going to tell my dad? Gabriel just told me that every single time he told someone that they started changing and falling into these weird spells where they get lost in this sinister, creepy ass smile. I don't want that to happen to my dad and something bad happen to my family. So he trying to figure out what he gonna tell his dad when he call him. But at the end of the day, he just tell him he ready to go home, that he just feels uncomfortable. And that he had talked to him more about it when his father comes to get him. So when his dad comes to get him, he tells his dad that him and Gabriel just got into a disagreement. They bumped heads and he just didn't want to be there anymore. And his dad didn't push or ask him like any extra questions about it. He just took it for what it was and was like, okay, I understand. And they went home. And it was hard for Terrell to fall asleep at first because he was playing everything back in his mind and he felt bad for leaving his friend. But eventually he fell asleep. The next day he went to school like any other day. And it was a normal day except for the fact that Gabriel wasn't there. He texted Gabriel telling him he's sorry. He tried to call him during lunch. And Gabriel never responded, never texted him back, never called him back. So at this point, Terrell started getting worried. He decided that after school, now that he knows where Gabriel lives, that he'd stop by and try and check on him since he's not answering his phone. And he ended up calling his dad and telling him that that was his plan as well. So when he gets to Gabriel's house and gets ready to knock on the door, he notices that the door is already open. It's not wide open, it's cracked. And when he saw that the door was cracked, immediately he got a bad feeling and his chest felt heavy. And he contemplated going in because he didn't know what to expect. But after thinking about it for a moment, he decided to just push through it. And he slowly opened the door. And when he opened the door, it was quiet. And everything was still. And he called out Gabriel's name. Gabriel? Gabriel? But nothing. So then he started calling his aunt's name. Miss Olivera? Miss Olivera? But again, silence. Nothing. And for a moment, he just stands there, trying to figure out what his next move is about to be. And he knows it might be a bad idea, but he finally decides that he'll venture further into the house. And as he looks around, he decides to go upstairs. And when he goes upstairs, again, he calls out their names. Gabriel, Miss Olivera. But still nothing. And as he makes his way down the hall, he slowly approaches Gabriel's room. And for a moment, standing right outside of it, he thought he could hear breathing. And when he peeked in, it looked like someone was laying in the bed, under the cover. And something told him that he shouldn't go in there. He should turn around. That he should leave. But of course he thought, what if that's just Gabriel? What if he's sleeping? What if he's depressed? I wasn't there for him last night. I could be there for him now. He walks in the room and he slowly pulls back the cover. And what he sees strikes fear into his heart to a point where it takes his breath away. It wasn't Gabriel. It was Miss Oliveira, Gabriel's aunt. And she was laying there, smiling. But the smile was twisted and her eyes were white like they rolled to the back of her head. And even worse, her arms and her body were contorted in these terrifying and nearly impossible positions. And as Terrell stood there looking at her in horror, he slowly started backing up, trying to back out of the room, but instead bumps into the wall. And for a brief moment, in the window, it was right there. The clown man. He wasn't standing in the yard. Somehow, he was in the window, and Terrell was on the second floor. But Terrell, he wiped his eyes, and when he looked again, the clown man was gone. So of course, Terrell was freaking out. And instead of backing up, he turned and he completely ran out the house and just started sprinting. As he was running, he pulled out his phone and he called his dad. And he told him that he just found his friend's aunt dead in the bed, that she was laying there lifeless, and he couldn't find his friend. And his dad told him to keep going, to get as far away from the house as possible, that he's checking his location, that he's going to meet him wherever he can, and to call the police. So Terrell get off the phone with him and call the cops. And the cops go to the house. And Terrell's dad ends up meeting him within the next 10 minutes and takes him home. Of course, the police came to ask Terrell more questions, and he also told them about this clown man and how the last time he saw his friend was the night before. And they told him and his dad that there was no sign of some clown man or anybody breaking in. Even with the door being open, it didn't seem like it was forced entry. But at the same time, it appeared that the aunt was murdered, but they can't tell how. And as far as Gabriel, they couldn't tell if he ran away or what happened to him. But that investigation actually went on for a while. And they never found Gabriel. Terrell never saw his friend again. But looking back on it all, Terrell and his dad only had one question. If Terrell would have spent the night, would the same thing have happened to him? Would he be missing or murdered too? But I guess we'll never know. All we know is that's why you shouldn't be letting your kids spend the night at other people's houses. Because you never know what the hell is going on at their house. But yeah, y'all, that's all for now. So don't forget to like, share, follow, and I'll see y'all next time. Y'all better stop letting y'all kids spend the night at their friend's house, because y'all don't know what's going on over there. And it's this one boy who learned the hard way. And this story is so creepy. But if y'all want to know the first half, y'all got to go to part 1. Because this is part 2. Now, last time I left y'all, I told y'all that Terrell was changing into his pajamas to spend the night at Gabriel's house. And he looked out the window. He saw this weird-looking man who looked like he had on a clown costume standing in Gabriel's backyard, just staring at the house. And when he told Gabriel what he saw, Gabriel was like, "You can see it too?" And at first, even though Terrell was thinking, well, yeah, duh, I just said I could see it, he stood there silent for a moment because he was processing what Gabriel just said. Because what do you mean, I can see it too? What do you mean it, first of all? And this is normal? You see this man all the time? And that's when Gabriel told him that he actually didn't tell him everything about what happened before leaving Brazil. Gabriel then proceeded to tell him the day that they buried his mother was the first time that he saw this man. That when they were in the graveyard putting her down, in the distance, he saw this clown figure standing with his back turned, at least for the first few seconds, because Gabriel explained that it's like the man sensed him looking at him, because after just looking at him for 3 seconds, the clown man turned around and started staring at him, just smiling, not breaking contact. And Gabriel started looking around, trying to see if anybody else noticed the man. And he didn't see anybody looking in that direction or noticing anything out of place. So as he's looking around, he turns back, and the man is gone. And then Gabriel continues to tell Terrell that after that, he started seeing the clown man here and there, not every day, but right after he'd see him, something would almost happen to him or his dad or someone else in the family. They would be face to face with death and missing it just by an inch. And then he finally decided to confide in his father and tell his father that he's been seeing this clown man. And it's like no one else could see it. It was even a day that they went to the beach, trying to have a father and son day in remembrance of his mom. And he saw the clown man on the beach, and he pointed it out to his father, but his father didn't see anything. It was as if this thing didn't exist to anybody but Gabriel. But the worst part about it is that after he told his father about this clown thing, his dad would go under these random spells where, whether he was standing in the living room or the kitchen or outside, somewhere by himself, he'd catch his dad almost in a trance, staring off into the distance, smiling with this creepy smile. And his dad would seem like he didn't realize it, like he'd snap out of it and wouldn't realize that he was just standing there, almost like he was in another world. And then he said his dad started becoming mean to a point where, on top of him not being able to take care of him, Gabriel just started becoming miserable and afraid of his father. So when his dad finally suggested that maybe he should go to the States with his aunt, he took the opportunity immediately. But then, on the day that he was leaving, at the airport, he saw the clown man. And a few days later, in the States, being here with his aunt, after only having a hint of being normal, just for a short while, he started seeing the clown man here and there too, out in public, sometimes in school. And he eventually told his aunt too. And once he told her, he noticed that she started acting a little strange. And ever since, he's just been terrified. Right now, she's just having these weird spells where she goes into this trance and smiles. It's a creepy, sinister smile, and then snaps out of it. But outside of that, she's still been nice for the most part. Then Gabriel said, even though he told his aunt, outside of these creepy random spells and her still being normal, he noticed that once he did that, he started seeing this clown man even more. That at first it was sporadic. He wouldn't know when he'd see him. It'd just be random, and then he wouldn't see him for days. But since he told his aunt, he's been starting to see him multiple days in a row. And it's as if he's been getting closer, seeing him in places closer to home. Until the other night, he saw him standing outside, not in his backyard, but right outside the gate. He admitted to Terrell that that was honestly part of the reason that he wanted him to spend the night. That it seemed like this thing was getting closer and closer. And he was terrified and didn't know what to do. And he didn't want to be alone. And when he told Terrell this, understandably, Terrell was speechless. But then Gabriel told him to look out the window. Is he still there? And Terrell told him, I'm not looking out the window. You go look out the window. And Gabriel hesitated. But when he went to go look, it was gone. Now, don't be mad at me, y'all. I gotta stop right there. I gotta go. But if y'all want part 3, Let me know in the comments. And y'all know I got y'all. All you gotta do is let me know. But until then, don't forget to like, share, follow, and I'll see you next time. Now, this is why you shouldn't let your kids spend a night at their friend's house. Or at least, that's why I won't be letting my baby do it anymore. And when I heard this story, I felt like it was one of the creepiest stories I've heard so far. And it started with this boy named Terrell, right? And one day, Terrell noticed that this boy transferred over to his high school. And as he paying attention to him, he noticed that the boy seems sad all the time. And that he's quiet. He never hear him talk. And on top of that, it don't make it no better that he peeped the other boys start bullying him for being sad all the time and quiet all the time. And Terrell don't like that. So he started defending the boy and eventually talking to him more and more, where one day they just become friends. And once they become friends, he of course learned that the boy's name is Gabriel and that Gabriel not from the States. He actually from Brazil, and he loved it over there. He had a good life, that is, until his mother died. And he told Terrell that after his mother died, weird things just started happening. Bad things. To a point where it was unexplainable. And on top of that, his dad worked all the time. So he didn't have the time to take care of Gabriel the way he needed to be taken care of, especially without the help of his wife. So Gabriel's dad decided to send him over to the States to live with his aunt, which is why he's at Terrell's school now. And Terrell hears this, and it don't do nothing but make him feel bad for him again, and in a way, bring him closer to Gabriel. As they become closer, they start hanging out after school every day, whether it was going to the library to study together or whether they were playing basketball. It didn't matter. They could have been doing anything. But at that point, they became inseparable. Then one day, Gabriel asked him if he'd like to come over to his house for dinner. He wanted to hang with him, but he was just tired of being outside. He wasn't in the mood today. And he said that his aunt would be cooking. So Terrell was like, sure, why not? I just got to ask my dad. And he ended up calling his dad and telling him, he want to go over to his best friend's house for dinner, that he'd be home right after. So his dad told him, yeah, sure. I don't have a problem with that. I'll see you a little bit later. So Terrell ends up going over to Gabriel's house and he meets his aunt. And he feels like the aunt is actually a little strange. Like, he can't put his finger on it. Something is a little bit off-putting about her, especially when she smiled. But at the same time, he felt like she was nice, and he also felt like she was a good cook, that he really enjoyed her food. So he didn't think too much of it. And after dinner, he told Gabriel that he enjoyed himself, but he had to go home. But Gabriel did not want him to go home. He started making suggestions to get him to stay longer, telling him like, wait, how about we watch a movie? Or we can even play some video games if you want. As a matter of fact, you might as well spend the night. And Terrell, he actually liked this idea. As a matter of fact, he was excited about it because even though they hung out every day after school, they actually never been to each other's houses. So on top of this already being the first time being at Gabriel's house, it was exciting being able to spend the night at his best friend's house. Hell yeah. He just had to call his dad and ask again. So he called his daddy, and of course, his daddy wasn't too keen on him spending the night at these people's house. Like, it's pushing it. He don't know these people. But then the dad ended up talking to the aunt, and after a short conversation, the dad ends up agreeing that Terrell could spend the night. So his dad was like, okay, well, call me if you need anything, and I'll see you tomorrow after school. After that, Gabriel and Terrell ended up going to Gabriel's room, and they started playing games. And they was playing games for hours, to a point where it got late, and the aunt came in and told them, all right, y'all need to start, shutting it down. Y'all do still got school tomorrow. So they was like, okay, well, let's start changing into our pajamas. And Terrell actually steps out. He goes to the bathroom, he does his business. When he opens the door, the aunt was standing right there with her hands side by side, just smiling. And when he opened the door, he jumped because he wasn't expecting her to be out there, and she didn't bother to knock. He didn't hear anything. She didn't make a sound. She was just looking at him, staring, smiling. And it was that same smile at dinner that he felt like was a bit strange. But after jumping, he was like, oh, I'm sorry. didn't know you were right here. And for a moment, she just still stood there smiling, not saying nothing. But then she said, "Oh, it's okay." Like she snapped out of it. And Terrell was like, "Right." And then walked past her and went back to the room. When he got into the room, he wanted to ask Gabriel, like, "Is your aunt always like that?" But he didn't want to be rude. Again, this was his first time staying there. So he decided to just brush it off. And he started changing into his pajamas. And as he was changing into his pajamas, he noticed something out of the corner of his eye. You see, where he was sitting in the room, Gabriel's bed was right there on the left-hand side, right against the wall. And then on the wall where the headboard is, along that wall, was a window in the middle of the wall. And Terrell was standing right in front of that to the side. So when he saw something in the corner of his eye out the window, he did a quick double take to make sure he saw what he thought he saw. And when he did a double take, he realized he did see what he thought he saw. And he walked over to the window. And he just stood there in silence, almost like he was in a trance. And he stood there so quiet for so long that it prompted Gabriel to finally be like, "Bro, you good? What's wrong?" And without even turning around, still keeping his focus, Terrell tells him, I think there's somebody in a clown costume standing in your backyard, just staring straight, looking at the house. Ignore my lips because the sound cut off right here, but pretty much what I said was that when Terrell said this, he was expecting Gabriel to say something, but he was silent for so long that it prompted him to turn around. And when he saw Gabriel was pale and speechless. So this threw Terrell off, and he's like, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" And then Gabriel said, "You can see it too." Now, I'm sorry, y'all. I know, but I gotta stop right there. I gotta go. But if y'all want a part 2, y'all already know what y'all gotta do. Just let me know in the comments by commenting part 2 that y'all want the second part, and I got y'all as soon as possible. But until then, don't forget to like, share, follow, and I'll see you next time.
Story time on my first and last sleepover in middle school. Okay, so boom, I'm in middle school. There's one other black girl in my class. We get super close. I love her, super locked in. So we're hanging out every day. We are playing recess together. We're sitting next to each other, eating lunch. We're swapping lunches. We're sharing, like, this is my BFF, right? Anyways, we get off the bus together one day, and she had asked me to come to her house, and I was like, yes, I do want to come to your house and play. So I go and ask my mom. My mom's like, no, she can come over here, but you can't go to her house. But I'm like, I want to go to her house. Like, I want to see what her house is like, whatever. And so my mom's like, just dead ass no. So I'm asking days and days and days. Days turns into weeks. I want to say almost a full month. I'm begging to go to my friend's house because my friend is very adamant about me coming over and wanting to hang out with her. And I really wanted to go too because, like, I had never been, I think I've been to other people's houses, but like cousins and family and stuff, but I'd never been to just a friend's house because my mom did not play that shit. So finally my mom was like, you know what, let me meet her mom. If she has a dad in the house, you're not going, whatever. She didn't have a dad in the house, luckily. So she's like, let me meet her mom, and I'll let you know. Fast forward, she ends up meeting her mom. I guess the vibes were good because I got to go. So I'm super excited. It's a Friday. I get off the bus, and I already have my stuff packed, and we're just going to go to her house. She had an older brother. Mind you, we weren't there. She had an older brother. He was in his senior year of high school. I was in love with him. He was so bright. And he kind of knew I had a little crush on him, but it was like, aw, you know, like a... Anyways, so we go to her house. We're walking. I'm super happy because I finally get to go play with my friend. We get to her house. I say hey to her mom. She gives us a snack. We go in her room. We're playing, whatever. Fast forward, the same night, her older brother, he was on the basketball team, and he invited his friends over. So he had like 2 or 3 friends from the basketball team over. His room is directly across the hallway from her room. So in her room, she has bunk beds, because I didn't mention this. She has 4 siblings. So the older brother, her, and then a younger brother and a younger sister. And I don't think my mom would have let me go over there, actually, if she would have known how many people were in the house, but whatever. So in her room, it's bunk beds. She sleeps on the top bunk. Her little sister sleeps on the bottom bunk. The little brother sleeps with the mom, and then the big brother has a room across the hallway. So we're in her room playing, like, literally, we're little girls. We're playing, like, dolls, whatever. So her mom calls us out, all of us, and we all eat dinner at the table, and it was cool. It was like a family vibe. I was like, this is so fun, so great. But I did notice, and I got a strange feeling from one of her brother's friends, but I'm not thinking anything of it because he's a grown-ass man to me, but I'm just kind of like, just the way he was peering at me, like, or looking over at my friend, or like making comments like, oh, shut up. Like, I don't know, who are you to like be interjecting on our conversation? Like, oh, y'all stupid. Bitch, who are you? Anyways, I thought that was really weird, but I'm also a kid, so I'm just like, okay, he's just a weird ass nigga, like, whatever. Fast forward, it's bedtime, so her mom didn't make us take a bath either. It was kind of strange, whatever. It's bedtime, and it's getting pretty late, so she sleeps on her top bunk, her little sister sleeps on the bottom bunk, and my mom had packed my strawberry shortcake sleeping bag. So I put my sleeping bag out, I got my pillows, I got my bonnet on, like, I'm fully ready to crash out. Not crash out, like, crash, whatever. And I'm laying there for a while, I'm dozing off, I keep waking up, because I had never slept at anybody else's house, and I, like, low-key wanted to call my mom at that moment, like, hey, girl, actually, can you come get me? But it's late as fuck. So I finally get to actually, like, dozing off to where I feel like I would have been asleep, and I hear her door creak open. Who the fuck is that? So I'm laying there, and it's like the footsteps, and now I'm getting scared, because I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, does she have a dog that I missed? What's going? And that's making me mad thinking about it, actually. Okay, so we were watching a DVD before we fell asleep, and after the shit finished, the screen was blue, but it was kind of dimmed down, so the screen is, like, reflecting on me, like, where I'm laying on the ground in my sleeping bag, and I'm, like, turning back my head. Why do I see the nigga that was being weird at dinner creeping into the room? Huh? So instantly, I'm like, what? Like, what the fuck is he doing in here? He comes, he gets on his knees, he crawls over to me, and he's like, they ain't got no room for me in there. Can I lay down here with you? It looks like you're comfortable down here. No, like, my eyes are literally tearing up as I'm remembering this, and not even because I'm gonna cry. It's like, that was so fucking scary. But me, you know, my mom and dad have always been very much, if somebody touches you, if somebody hurts you, you tell me immediately. I don't give a fuck what they tell you. You need to tell me, and nobody can hurt you. So this nigga, I was like, oh, fuck no. So he's like, I can't lay down here with you. I'm like, no, what? Like, I'm literally like, what? No, get away from me. He's like, fine, I ain't want to sleep with you no ways. And instead of leaving the room, do you want to know what this nigga does? He walks over to the ladder of the bunk bed and gets in the top bunk with my friend. So as a kid, I'm thinking like, I can't believe he just flirted with me. Like, no way, not my type thing. And she's trying to tell him the same thing. I'm not even thinking in my head, like, this is actually a grown-ass man, and what he's doing is diabolical, like, insanity. So fast forward, the timer on the TV goes off, the TV goes completely off, and I'm thinking, like, I don't know why, but I wasn't worried in the moment, because I'm like, oh, like, I shoot him away, she'll shoot him away, whatever, and he's gonna leave. So I actually end up falling asleep after that strange ass encounter, even though in my chest I was like, ugh, but I was like, I dodged it, right? Fast forward, it is 7:16 a.m. The sun is rising, coming through her double bay window. I know it's 7:16 because she had a Hello Kitty alarm clock projector shit projecting on the wall and red writing what time it was. I look up and all I hear is her brother bust into the room on 10. Nigga, what the fuck wrong with you? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, damn, that's how y'all get down around here? Like, what's going on? I turn around, look up. The friend is full on behind this little ass girl, holding her, cuddling her, like, that's his girl. Like, what? I was so fucking shocked because I'm like, no, obviously she told him, like, get the fuck out, right? No. He was holding her all night. Like, he was up there doing God knows fucking what all night long. The brother is on fucking 10,000. I'm shocked. He runs up to the bunk bed, grabs this nigga by the back of his braids, and flings him down on a metal bunk bed. Do you know what that sounds like? Oh, and her brother big as shit too, so he's just like, hey, what the fuck wrong with you? He pulls him down. I'm like, holy fuck. I swear to God, this was the first time in my life I ever seen somebody get their ass beat. Like, they was like, He was beating this nigga senseless, bro. Like, that was some shit I'd never seen before. I was shocked. Her mom comes in the room. What the hell going on? Why the fuck y'all in here? What the fuck y'all doing in here? I'm like, then right after the mom, the other brother friend comes in, he's like, damn, his kid's in here, bro, like, what's going on? I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna take her out of here. He comes, he literally just scoops me up in my, like, beanbag, not my beanbag, my sleeping bag. He scoops me up, takes me in the living room. He was like, are you okay? Like, blah, blah, blah. They interrogated me, and they're just like, he's like, what happened? Like, did anybody hurt you? Did he hurt you? I'm like, what? Because I'm not processing that he's sick. I'm not processing. I'm just like, hurt me? That nigga, get away from me. And he's like, you don't have to lie, like, it doesn't matter what he told you, like, tell me. And mind you, this is just one of the brother's friends too, so that was actually so sweet and, like, so proactive of him being, like, a young man, whatever. But anyways, oh damn, I used my 10 minutes.
She attended a sleepover with 13 of her white friends and then was found dead the next morning, but no one was ever charged. In 2018, 40-year-old Tamala Horsford attended an adult sleepover at a friend's home in Cumming, Georgia. She was the only black woman among 13 white attendees. The next morning, she was found face down and unresponsive in the backyard. Authorities immediately ruled her death an accident, saying she fell from a one-story balcony, citing intoxication. However, the autopsy documented extensive injuries, including multiple blunt force trauma that many questioned as unusually severe for such a fall. There was conflicting witness statements, limited crime scene investigation, and the case was almost immediately closed, sparking public outrage. But despite reinvestigations, no charges were ever filed, and to this day, Tamla's family is seeking answers and justice. Rest in peace to this poor woman. Spread the news so that her and her family get the justice they deserve, and as always, I'll keep you guys updated.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
Okay, so the story I'm about to tell is why I will never touch a Ouija board. When I was in elementary school, I went to a friend's sleepover party for her birthday. It was me, her, a few of our mutual friends, and a few of her friends who I didn't know personally. The house that my friend lived in was kind of old, dark, a little bit far out from the city, but not completely isolated, but still kind of creepy. So this was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So while we're having this sleepover, we're playing all of those games that we used to play back then. So we played Light as a Feather, we played Bloody Mary, and we just sat around telling ghost stories in the dark. All of that was fine. Nothing out of the ordinary happened while we were doing that. So after we get done with those games, I hear one of her friends talking to some of the other girls, and she's asking them like, oh, should I do it? Do you want to see it? Should we try it? And it turns out that she brought a Ouija board, and she was trying to see if anybody else wanted to try it out with her. So for context, while I was growing up, had some paranormal experiences, or at the very least experiences that I can't explain. And so for me, I prefer to just stay away from anything like that. I didn't like to engage. So the fact that all of my friends were trying to, mess around with the Ouija board was making me really uncomfortable. So they placed the Ouija board on the floor, and then everyone who was going to play sat down in a circle around the Ouija board. Everyone participated except for myself and one other girl. So since I wasn't participating, I sat down on an armchair that was right in front of where they were sitting on the floor. And then the other girl, who was also not participating, she sat on an armchair off to my left. And her armchair had its back to my friend's sliding glass door that led out to her deck. All of the lights were off in the room that we were playing in. Pretty much all the lights, in that entire floor were off. The only thing that was on was the TV, and the TV was on just in the background on mute, and everything else, again, was just pitch black dark. So the girls who were playing start asking it questions, like silly stuff, like, oh, who am I gonna marry? Am I gonna be rich? Stuff like that. So everything was going fine. And then all of a sudden, one of the girls slams her hand down on the board and says in this kind of, strange voice. It was still her voice, but the tone was a little off. She slams her hand down and she says, you guys are doing it wrong. You're supposed to say hello first. Don't be rude. And so everyone looks at her like, wow, what a weirdo. But they went ahead and listened to her anyway. So they started over. They said hello. And then they started asking new questions. At this point, they're asking these questions. The planchette is moving. They start arguing over who's actually moving it and, whatever. While this is happening, all of a sudden, the hairs on my arms and the back of my neck start pricking. And I look up at where the TV is. Next to the TV, off to the right, was a hallway. The hallway was dark because, again, all the lights are off. The hallway is dark, but the entrance to the hallway is right next to the TV. And so what I see there is a silhouette, a pitch black, dark silhouette of what appears to be a person. And I was so freaked out, but I couldn't look away. I was staring at it, and I thought maybe that's just her dad. And so I'm looking for any sign that this figure that I'm looking at is her dad. But the problem is that her dad had kind of long, scraggly hair that was like, it would show off over here. So he also had a fairly thick beard. So if that was her dad, I still would have been able to see from the shadow silhouette his hair and his beard. This figure had nothing. It was an outline and nothing else. I also couldn't feel, I don't know if any of you have experienced this. If you have, please let me know, because this is the strangest thing I've ever seen. I didn't get that feeling of recognition that you get when you're looking at another human. Even if you don't know the person, you at least intuitively know that you're looking at a human being. I did not get that from this figure that I was looking at. So while I'm staring at this thing, and I don't even know how long I was staring at it, the same girl who slammed her hand down, all of a sudden, projectile vomits all over the board. And obviously, as soon as she does it, everyone who is sitting around the board screams and scatters away from the board. Everyone's staring at her, including me. That broke my concentration. So I'm staring at her, and she kept her head down, looking at the board after she vomited. And she says in this, like, almost whisper tone, oh, it freaks me out. I said, "Don't be rude." So at that point, I hear the bedroom door to where my friend's dad was sleeping open. I hear him walking down the hall, and I see him coming from where the figure was standing. And when I watched him do that, I knew for a fact that was not her dad that I saw standing there. And I know that because, again, like I said earlier, you would be able to see his hair, you'd be able to see his beard as part of his shadow. So needless to say, I did not sleep a wink that night. I don't think anyone else did either. I never went back to her house, and I 100% will never touch a Ouija board.
When I was 9, I went to a sleepover at my friend's house, and something in that house did not want me there. There was quite a few of us. We were baking cookies, playing games, being loud, you know, the things that you do when you're little and at a sleepover. At one point, my friend casually tells us all that her house is haunted, and we just kind of laughed it off, thinking that she was joking or just trying to make things like spooky. The night goes on, and we gradually end up in her bedroom, and we're laughing, giggling, whatever, until we all wind up falling asleep. Sometime in the middle of the night, I remember checking the clock later on, and I'm pretty sure I woke up around 2:30 a.m. And it sounded like somebody was in the house, and I really listened, and I realized that it sounded like very heavy footsteps. They started to come up the steps, and they were really heavy, like wearing boots, and almost the boots that have like a steel toe or just some kind of metal on them, and the footsteps were dragging slightly. It was very slow and very loud, like too loud for anybody to ignore, and I looked around to see if anybody else was awake, but it was just me at that time. Eventually the footsteps hit the top of the staircase, and then I hear a couple more steps, and it reaches to outside of the bedroom door, and it just stops. And it stayed there for, I want to say, 5 minutes. They just stood there, whatever it was. The footsteps started again, back and forth in the hallway, pacing. And then they came to the bedroom door again, and all of a sudden, the loudest bang happened. It was very loud, like somebody was trying to get into the door. My friend actually woke up, and she just kind of stared at me, terrified, and you could tell both of us were just kind of frozen, and I just pointed to the door. She whispers to me, "What is that?" And I say, "I don't know." And then we hear the footsteps go back down to the hallway, down the stairs, and it goes quiet, and we didn't hear anything for the rest of that night. We fell back asleep. We woke up the next morning, and while we were eating breakfast, I asked my friend if anybody was in the house, like brothers or somebody messing with us, and she said, "No, it's just my dad here, and he's too sick to get out of bed." We told her what happened in the middle of the night, and she said, "I told you, like, I've heard similar things happen." After breakfast, we all went outside to go play, kind of brushing it off. We decided to play Ghost in the Graveyard in the backyard, and I go to hide behind this bush. And that's when I saw her. Laying down was a little girl about the same age. She had blonde hair. She was wearing a really, really pretty white dress, and she was barefoot. I kind of stared at her for a sec, and then I waved, and then she waved back at me, and she said, "Don't go back into that house." And I was confused, and I just pointed back at my friend's house. I asked her why, and she didn't answer. And so I asked her again, and she just said the same thing. She said, "Don't go back into that house." After that, she stood up and she ran off, and my friend came over, and she said, "Boo." And I said, "Oh, did that little girl give away my hiding spot?" And she said, "What little girl? I didn't see another little girl." She said that I was sitting there alone the whole time. I found out a couple things a couple days later that made it even worse. We found out that there had been an unaliving that happened in that house, and somebody in my friend's family was involved. And I never went back to that house again after finding that out.
Listen, if there is one lesson of the day from all of this, it is trust your gut. I don't care if it's your favorite cousin, your best friend. If the vibes in that house starts to feel off, pack your shit and go home. And I'm sure you guys have some wild stories too. So have you ever had like a sleepover that goes sideways or get real spooky? Drop those stories down in the comment section below. Smash that like button, subscribe to CHELA'S TV, and stay safe in your own beds. See you guys in the next one. Bye.